Good morning. My name is Frida Willis, and I would just like to thank Robert Edwin Conferencing for the opportunity to share with you the changing roles and strategies as well as new functions for employee wellness programs and HR's line managers and supervisors in this very difficult time that we are all surviving and functioning in. My wish is that we would thrive in times like these. And for that, to begin with, I'd like to share a quote with you from Paul Tillich, and that is, "Goodness without knowledge is weak. Knowledge without goodness is dangerous. We have to build a better man before we can build a better society." All that is necessary for triumph of evil is that good people do nothing. Our purpose is not to make a living, but to make a life. And a life that is worthy, well-rounded, and useful. Morality is not a subject. It is a life put to the test in dozens of little moments. And we spend so much time at work that those moments should be moral moments. Let's have a look at what the World Health Organization tells us about mental health. Currently, we are struggling, but they predict that we will have an even bigger crisis by 2030. So we have 9 years in which to do dramatic and wonderful, powerful things. The positive side is that at this point we are already aware of the need of better mental health care. We are aware of the state of people, the conditions in which people live and work has really radically changed and affected everybody on a very deep level. We see a lot of anxiety, we see a lot of depression, we see a lot of familial abuse, and we see a lot of problems occurring. It is so important that we realize that employee wellness and mental health in the workplace is no longer negotiable. It's not up for discussion. It is only up for implementation. We can no longer only focus on the bottom line. We have to focus on the human line. And as the Lever brothers so rightfully said, if we leave the human factor out of our business calculations, we shall be wrong every single time. So let's have a look at what the World Health Organization means when they say when they say mental health and the definition thereof. It is a state of well-being in which an individual can realize his or her own abilities, in other words, be productive and contributive, can cope with normal stresses of life. And here's the thing that got me is we no longer have a normal. So let's assume then that nobody's mental health is exactly on point at this situation we're in. And also can work productively and is able to make a contribution to his or her or their community. Now, we all know that we need work to live, and a lot of people are literally emotionally drowning in stress and fear and anxiety, and they don't really know how to snap out or how to recenter themselves. And part of my conversation with you today will look at a few things we can actually do on a very real and practical level to help people just to gain that centering of themselves again. Part of my agenda today will also cover the following. We looked at mental health. We're looking at the current reality. So let's get into a little bit more of who I am and what Thinkology is all about. I have been an employee wellness specialist for the past almost 30 years. Started off with working only on a substance abuse field, then expanding to pharmaceutical companies. And I can safely say I've covered quite a large number of organizations that gave me insight into employees' well-being from their lowest level of factory workers all the way through to excos and their very unique set of needs. Feel free to read more about my bio and my approach a little bit later. I think it's important that we get into the actual details of the program and that you walk away with some fresh thinking. And I must also say, people tend to ask me, but why Thinkology? So I think maybe a good idea is for us to have a quick look at exactly why I pick the word Thinkology as a theme or a topic or a identity for my organization. When I tell people my business name, they say, why Thinkology? Why not psychology? Well, it's because Thinkology is more than that. It is about your thinking, your feeling, and ultimately your doing. It is about how you choose to live your life based on the thinking that you're doing. So the definition could be seen as literally the science of your thoughts, or the path that a person takes to reach a certain conclusion through their thinking, feeling, and reasoning. And I notice that there's often patterns of thinking, and those patterns sometimes need a bit of tinkering and a bit of alteration so that their outcomes can be better. It is the path that is the precursor to your actions, the feelings, the deeds, the doings, the habits, the behaviors. And in other words, if you want to change your life, you must change your thinking. Or another way to put it, to think well, you will live well. With deliberate intent, I decided not to talk about the return on investment because by now we should all know that it is no longer a matter of can we afford it, it is a matter of can we afford not to have care and attention to mental well-being in the workplace. But more on this later. Ironically, there's always something positive that a crisis brings about. And what COVID gave us is the realization that we really need to become proactive and not reactive in a lot of what we do. Proactive also in the sense that we need now work-friendly homes instead of family-friendly workplaces. It also brought about that we need to take a harder look at how we communicate with and without technology, and how much of self-management and self-coaching is required to make sure that we communicate effectively. It's a good thing to review that. What is also happening is it is creating a new corporate culture, one of independence and accountability and trust, away from your typical passive and let's wait for management kind of mindset from before. So it's an important thing to also remember that COVID helped us remember that we need to use our emotional intelligence, our self-management and self-regulation. Those are the key tools that we will need in the future to make the workplace a mentally well space. What is it that they ask for? They ask for certainty and safety. And of course, we all know that there's a lot of job losses that we're dealing with. And one has to be prepared. So it forces employees to have a look at their life. What am I doing with my money? Am I being responsible? Am I impulsive? Am I living from moment to moment there, spending money that I shouldn't, not thinking long term, for example? The employees also say they need variety because that keeps them focused. They get stuck in a rut at home with their work, and therefore they would like to do some other things, add value in different ways. They want to be seen. They want to feel significant. People need feedback, and if we don't give them that, they feel invisible. People want connection and peer support. And yes, we can use technology very comfortably for that. Look at us now. We're doing just that. They need recognition and validation. And you know what I love to teach people? Be your own validator. That's one of the primary tools of self-mastery, is don't wait for your manager, your boss, your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, your partner to encourage you and to give you constructive feedback. Look in the mirror and tell yourself what you know you've done well. It's a great thing. It's a good thing. Your manager, your leader cannot always be the one that pats you on the head. It's an important thing to remember is self-validation is still validation. And it's often very healthy to say, I know what I did and I know I did that well. They also want contribution. They want to know, is there anything you need? Is there anything we can do for you? In other words, care. And they want affirmation. They want to be affirmed for what they do. And currently, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy, we're pretty much stuck there between the security and the survival. If we're very, very lucky with a good team lead and a good manager, we will go up, we'll feel belonging, we'll feel important. But oftentimes, people are all feeling, heck, it's a struggle for survival. So we really need to work at changing that mindset. And the problem is most employee wellness programs at this point in the situation we're in have a couple of downsides. So let's have a look at that, and also let's have a look at how we can do that. The downside of a traditional employee wellness program is that there's still in this day and age, sadly, very often a stigma associated to seeing somebody getting counseling, getting therapy, getting help. Truth is, we all need help. We're all human. And there isn't one human on the planet that hasn't needed some help at some point in their life, whether it's medical help, whether it is mental help, whether it's physical help. We all need help. So can we please get real about that? There is no stigma to that any longer. The downside as well is people only get sent to an employee wellness program when there's an active crisis, which means that there's so much to resolve that sometimes, let's use a relationship as an example, the relationship is already on the rocks. They did not attend to the problems prior, did not get help earlier on, and therefore are not able to resolve the crisis now. So my advice is always, before the giant grows into a giant, address the problem and catch it while it's still little so that you can manage and master it. There's some managers that indicate that they don't want to send employees to the employee wellness program because it's a crutch. They run away to the EAP. And it's really not the case, because myself, as a service provider, I make very sure it's not just a cake and coffee conversation that happens. And when I find people try to wedge their way in to get a couple of hours away from the workplace, I cut that short very quickly. So I really need us to get clear on that. There's no getting away with stuff when you see one of my people. There's a fear that it limits personal responsibility. In other words, the people go for help, they don't do the helping themselves. But people need information. People need help. New thinking, new input creates new outcomes. So we really need to allow people to go and discover what they can do differently in their lives to get better results. An employee wellness program is not for victims. Truth is, we're all the victim of the COVID reality. And yet, we don't look at it like that. We talk to each other. We offer each other help. So the victim mindset is something that we really also should throw out the window. The focus is on healing. The focus is on wellness. The focus is on getting to a better place in your life. The sad reality is people who look at the employee wellness services at the moment often say, but I'm doing well at work, I don't need to go. What we forget is your mind and body and your job and your thinking, they're all in one unit. And you can't separate your home life from your work life. There's no such thing. You carry yourself to work, you carry yourself home, and that unit, your brain and your mind, is always with you. So therefore, if you perform well at work, it does not mean that you don't have problems at home or problems in your personal growth or issues that can do with a bit of polishing. So we need to know that employee wellness is actually for everyone in the organization. And you'll see that I include management in that as well. There's a very negative historical connotation that it's only the so-called not doing well employees, the ones that are at risk of losing their jobs, that go to employee wellness. And again, that's a myth that definitely needs to be dispelled. People are afraid that the information about them will go to HR or to go on their files. And that does not happen. There's a very serious confidentiality agreement that we make with all our employees and all our management. So they know that there's a no-go zone and there's a healthy boundary there. So keep that in mind. Also, there's the perception, or there hopefully was the perception, that it's full of pathology and of only for people who have pathology and dysfunction. And it's not. An employee wellness program is also there for your growth, for your expansion, for your betterment, for your career advancement. So keep that in the back of your mind. And remember, we referred to return on investment. Well, I'd like to replace it with something else. Here goes. I want you to consider what is more important than the ROI is the cost of inaction, the cost of indecision. What consequences are you choosing by staying stuck in a crisis-based model of assistance? In other words, reactive. And when you are in a mindset of, no, we can't afford this, we need to look at the bottom line. People need people. And we spend so much time at work that we actually really need to get support and guidance and development skills and tools from our workplace. Let's quickly look again at the what and the how of mental health. Mental health is so much more than the absence of mental disorders. I'll go into that a little bit more in a few minutes. But mental health is an integral part of health. You cannot have a healthy mind body if you do not have mental health as part of that. It's a unit, so the one will affect the other. We need to always look at both. Mental health, of course, are impacted by external events. Look at what we're dealing with right now. The COVID reality has impacted us each on a very personal level. So we must consider, when we work with wellness, what are the circumstantial, the external factors that's affecting the person. Sometimes we need to fix the environment and the person will bloom. It includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Also our financial well-being, which is something I kind of have a soft spot for, because people need to really mature when it comes to how they're dealing with their money. I see people splashing and spending, and I have no problem with that. But they don't have a backup plan. They don't have savings. They don't look after the rainy day. So our mental health affects how we think and feel and act. And it determines how we handle stress, how we relate to others and make choices. And there's a visual representation of that. And what I want you to specifically see here is that an employee wellness program must grow beyond reactive symptom relief. We need to climb the steps from awareness and education to growth, and it's a personal thing. I believe every moment working with an employee is a teachable moment. We really need to throw in everything we've got at this point to get employees to reach the next level of growth and step up for themselves and their careers and their families. In the old days, employee wellness focused on basic things, your blood pressure, a little bit of social skills, a little bit of information about cancer and relationships, and a bit of communication skills and listening skills. But we really, really need a whole lot more than that at this point. It's vital that the baseline stays there. We can't abandon that. But with our programs in Thinkology, we craft programs specifically for an organization based on their demographic, based on their need set, believing that we need to shape the hearts and the minds of an employee to see themselves in a new light so that they can contribute, so that they can become better people in their roles. And that's very important for us. We also don't shy away from working very closely with training managers, with human capital leaders, with a culture team, the corporate governance teams. An employee wellness cannot function without those. It's actually an integrated part. Don't be shy to connect. Don't be shy to build relationships with your leaders in your organization. Just something to remind you that you never build a business. You build people, and that the people then build the organization from there. So how should an employee wellness program adapt? It should become proactive, more coaching, a lot less reactive support. Include all employees. The CEO is also an employee. Never forget that. Build real relationships. Get to know an employee. I don't subscribe to the call center symptom management relief method. I try to make sure that I reach each employee individually and that they know me so that when they need assistance and support, there's already a level of comfort and rapport that makes things faster and easier. An employee wellness program should be a long-term part of the organizational reality. We cannot just step in and step out. Yes, for crisis management, for sure. But it is important that we, as well as employee service providers, work at trust and safety, build people's accountability and responsibility, collaborate and cooperate with every department in the organization, have a basis of honesty and empathy. So that's what the employee wellness should adapt to and change to. The next question is, what can you do as a leader and a manager, a supervisor, any top-down role, whether it's a team lead, whether it's a group lead, call it what you like. This is what we need right now. I'm saying this with the most sincerity I can muster. Never forget that we are first human. When you're dealing with anybody, be open, see more than the employee, see the human. We need to recreate remote work policies that are rational, practical, and sustainable, and based on trust, which is difficult to do, I know. We need to reskill leaders in EQ on an ongoing basis. We can use coaching for that. We need to become educated about trauma. Everybody's been traumatized, and I literally mean everybody, by this COVID pandemic. So basic trauma knowledge. We need to impart that to you so you know how to identify it in yourself, in your family, and in your team. So your employee wellness can play a very big role here. You need to be able to identify your own symptoms and other people's symptoms. Again, use your employee wellness program. Please take action to resolve issues. Follow up with maintenance. I know there is a tendency to cap a certain number of sessions per person, and I often say it's like asking a brain surgeon to do an operation, and just when he gets to the tumor, time's up. And that's not how it can work. So we need group coaching. We need to use technology. We need to use knowledge that is so freely available. Everybody I know has a smartphone. Every level of employee on every organization that I've worked with has a smartphone. Believe me, we can use that so well. That can be a massive cost saving, but still reach them, still give them knowledge, still give them information. So we need to offer support, care, and connect, not always as a leader, but as a human. And also, you may want to reflect on your own style of management. Ask yourself one simple question. How is it working? Really? Is it just a perception that I have, a filter that I'm running through, that I'm a great leader and I'm doing well and I'm fine and everybody loves me and I'm communicating well? Stop. Slow down. Do deep introspection. If you have to, test it with a trusted other. Say, give me some feedback. Let's hear it. Open your heart, expand. You will find great value in that. And then I suggest you formulate, and again, use your employee wellness program for this. Formulate a personal growth plan for yourself. And I'm talking about life, home, work, family, everything wrapped into one. We can no longer separate home life and work life. Have your diary, your calendar, your journal as one unit. It's your whole life we're talking about. Implement these things with your ego left at the door. We all need to be humble and take a mindset of there's so much more to learn. Be the person in the position that other people want to approach. Please, open yourself as a human. Here's another thought. We all need deeper support than surface issues. Yes, it's fun to watch TikTok. Yes, there's a million YouTube videos out there that can help us. But the application of learning is the key. That's what we need right now. And I use this as a reminder so often for specifically team leaders and HR managers and managers in general, that we need to watch how we react. What's our response? How are we triggered by things? And what is it that people are perceiving when they deal with us? So between that input and our reaction or our response, there's that moment, that second or two, where we make a decision which direction we're going to go into, whether we are even going to respond or not. And in that place is where we become very powerful beings. And one thing I often say to my employees and contacts and clients and coachees is that we have to understand that growth is practice. It's repetition. And it's the same for this. For example, the practice of mindfulness is actually something so wonderful and so simple that we underestimate it very regularly. And today I specifically want you to just tie a knot in your mind and remember this is something that we can all access any time of day or night, whether you're alone, whether you're in a group of people, whether you're in a meeting or not. And that is the art of connecting to the space inside. There's a very simple process one can do with practice. And please remember what I mean with practice is regular repetition, because the more regularly we repeat this exercise, the better we will become at it, and the faster we will be able to go into the space of feeling calm, of having clarity of mind, and of feeling so much better. You know, we live in a world where we medicate everything and we want to fix everything with medication, but our emotional world really just needs our own connection. So if anybody is interested in the art and practice of mindfulness, really feel free to contact me. I am happy to impart short, easy how-tos with you. And then, my friend, it's up to you to practice. But it's possible and it's powerful. And I really wish that you would try it at least for a month. By then, you will know how wonderful and how helpful it is. And remember, you're a human. You can teach this skill at work, at home, to your kids, to your friends, to your family, to your colleagues, and even to your manager if need be. Just remember that in your mind is all the tools that you will need to become more mindful and calm and centered. One of the things that most people really had great difficulty with since the onset of COVID is how to manage boundaries between family, between colleagues, phone calls, Zoom calls, all sorts of contact and connection ended up in chaos because of that. And that's an important lesson for us. Once we get to a place of calm and clarity, we can set down boundaries. We can have conversations with ourselves, with our colleagues, with our managers, and communicate what works for us and what doesn't. One size fits all no longer applies. We really need to focus on healthy boundaries at home, but also healthy boundaries at work. And many years ago, one of my mentors said to me, a company will work you to death if you let them. And I never forgot that. And I made a point of working in rest and phone off time. And that, I think, got me to where I am 30 years later, still loving what I do. So I want you to invite you to consider what will work, communicate your boundaries, adjust them if you need to. But remember, we need boundaries to stay mentally well, mentally healthy. It's when we roll over and say yes to everything or say no to nobody that we end up exhausted, frazzled, and unable to function. So this is an invitation for you as an employee to also implement healthy boundaries. So how do we manage mental illness and get to mental wellness? I firmly believe that it's very important for all of us to go back to basics. And here's a few pointers. Start by planning your life and your days. That means regular planning, not just once a month, and not just your work stuff. Begin by incorporating the good stuff in your life that you want to plan and execute and live and explore and experience. Then, also, vital, we need water. I'm happy to see most people do walk around with a bottle of water, but I don't always see them sip. So remember to drink water. It feeds our brain. It keeps our brain smooth and lubricated to actually function well. Get enough sleep. Get enough rest. Having a nap is not a sin or a crime. You are allowed to restore. Remember in grade school, we used to have 2 breaks, and they were filled with fun and exuberance, and then we could focus again. I think we need to bring that back. Have some routines or rituals that work for you at home and at work. Those things keep us steady. Those things keep us focused. Those things keep us feeling like we're in control of our lives. And that right now is a feeling we all need. Very importantly, if you make no time for yourself, how will you know how you're doing? How will you heal what is not well for you at this moment? Really make time for yourself without your phone, without television, without people around you. And may I suggest, preferably somewhere outside, close to a tree, on some grass. Connect. It's wonderful to just sit in nature. And of course, make time for others. And by that I mean, again, without technology. No phone, no TV, no iPad. Really converse. Be with them. And you'll find that you will leave feeling well, and they as well. Then remember the following. Our mental state is always in flux. It ebbs and it flows. What I mean is, no one is always well all the time. All of us have been affected by COVID. All of us feel the stress. All of us are at times not mentally well. And we need self-management skills more than ever, no matter what our job title and what our role is, and whether we're employed or unemployed or retired or self-employed. The point is, these tools will help us have better and healthier lives, and I wish that for you. Your power as an HR manager or human capital leader is immense. You have the ability to influence the organizational culture, to help rewrite policies that enhance employee wellness, mental health, and productivity. You have the ability to enforce and create and encourage incentives that makes employees feel valued and respected, and to encourage healthy mental health practices. You have the ability to incorporate wellness programs that is customized and employee-centric. We need it. We're going to need it more by 2030. You have the ability to integrate your employee wellness team into the whole organization, and that is a powerful power that you hold. Don't forget that it lies in your lap to bring this about. Just a little reminder for all of us that it starts with us. New thinking starts with how we retrain our brain, and that we have the power to recondition our thinking, to put new thoughts in place of old thoughts, and to create different outcomes because of that. By removing the mental illness versus mental wellness stigma, we have an opportunity to really make growth happen. COVID was the great equalizer. We know that now. We were all affected, independent of role, rank, and title. We all felt it deep in our being. And because what we think comes out in action, it's really important that we notice how we respond to someone with a mental illness state, meaning that they're not always mentally ill or experiencing that specific state. Be careful how you respond, because people notice, people feel, and you have the ability to either bring them closer, validate them, or bring about distance and avoidance. And at a time like this, we really do need more closeness, more transparency, more connection. Remember, your mind is a gold mine, and it can create the most wonderful outcomes for you, for your team, and your organization. We have great power to impact other people, positively and negatively. And not only by what we say, it's also by how we are. So I want to invite you once again to begin change by investigating your impulses and the impact of that on others, your assumptions and what it takes away from others, your perceptions and what it excludes, your defenses and what it keeps away, your conclusions and what we lose when we have too many of those, our feelings and what it says about us, our behaviors and whether that brings about mental health or not. The filters that we look through, are they still clean? Are they fresh? Are they hopeful? Are they optimistic? Are they healthy? If not, contact us. We'll be happy to help you retrain, reframe, and rebrain so you can have a better, happier, mentally healthy life. Because emotional intelligence is a fundamental basic that we need to function well in any connection or relationship with ourselves and with others, I thought it a good idea to quickly just flash a couple of concepts to you to help your mind remember the power that you have and the importance of working well with emotional intelligence when we're dealing with employees, when we're dealing with emotional wellness or mental wellness, as well as with people who are experiencing times of less emotional wellness. So it's important to understand that our self-awareness and our social awareness is vital, And without that, we make grand and gross errors. Also, with self-management and self-mastery, we really can become more and better individuals, leaders, managers, and humans. Another factor that can greatly impact the health of the team, of the organization, and the individual is how we utilize the skill set of team development. And I'm not talking about fun days, I'm not talking about quad bikes, I'm talking about a process of team development that helps each individual become a valuable member and a contributing member of the team, because we all need to bring our bit, we all need to contribute, we all need to be on the same page. A team development program, a team development process is aimed at building team vision, unison, trust, feelings of coherence and alignment. And that makes a team really, really effective. So we're not just talking about fun days. We're talking about actual processes that brings about the employee's mindset of I am an important element in this team. And one last summarizing couple of thoughts. Our focus must be forward thinking. The future is going to unfold even faster than we're feeling it right now. We need open forums like this to forge the way for courageous thinking, feeling, and healthy acting for healthy and successful organizations and employees and society, because that's what we all want. Thank you very much for your time. Feel free to contact me. Look me up on thinkology.co.za. Phone me on 082 4533 997, or look for Thinkology on YouTube. You may also look for Frida Willis on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to spend this morning with you. Enjoy the rest of the conference and be blessed. Thank you.